Hey, hello, and welcome to the Dream Freedom Beauty Energy Report. I am Natalie Ross, still.
And she's still
I'm
Natalie.
still
I'm still
Natalie.
Rebecca Conran
Hi,
here.
Rebecca.
Hi.
Hi, audience. So, what
Hi.
week, what days are we covering here?
So this is going to be Monday, August the 27th to Sunday, September 2nd. So we're going into right before Labor Day here.
Cool.
Um, and the weekly theme that I pulled this week, I pulled it from my new deck, my
Cool.
new
Beautiful.
Reiki mantra cards, all of my original art and explanations. And the one that I pulled today is this one, and it is,
Wait, hold it up closer again to the video.
here you
Very
go.
cool. Wow, it looks like a yellow and blue vortex with some paramecium floating around.
A
That's
little bit of
cool.
water, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of the purple divine energy. So this one that I pulled is intimacy and vulnerability, and the mantra for it is through my vulnerability, my empowerment. Um, the energy this week is looking to be quite emotional. When is it not? But
Oh,
as I was
joy.
pulling, as I was pulling the cards, that's what was coming up for this week. So
Cool.
uh, the rich, the ritual this week is showing authentic feeling, um, and this is really about us being true to what's really going on inside of us, even if it feels uncomfortable or like a risk to share it with somebody else. So, society has created a lot of different names for authentic feeling, wonderful names like oversensitivity and mentally ill and crazy. These are
Crazy,
three
yeah.
three terms that came to mind when I was thinking about how we've been conditioned to really not show authentic feeling. We're pretty much all terrified of seeing the truth of how each of us are feeling, and
Like, no,
and
keep it bottled up and locked in. Don't bring it
yeah,
out.
don't remind me of my own
Ooh.
feelings and pain. Oh no. We really as a society have come up with any reason to malign the act of just showing authentic feeling, you know. But I think the best example of authentic feeling is really the way that children are. You'll notice that they just let it up and out, but they also don't wallow in a feeling. They're not wallowing in anger or sadness. They express it, and then it makes it free for them to sometimes almost immediately move on to a different feeling, like joy or curiosity or whatever. They're always shifting from moment to moment. And this is authentic. This is an authentic release, although children sometimes project emotions onto what's around them. When we grow to be our ages and older, we get to bring more awareness into that of like, guiding the inner child within us who feels emotional and not projecting those emotions. I think another reason why it's hard for us to show authentic feeling is that we've come from households where emotions were either repressed, um,
Definitely.
yeah, and we were told not to cry, or the opposite, where emotions were explosive and they were projected on us, especially in terms of anger. And so unconsciously, subconsciously, we've learned to stifle our emotions for whatever reason, person to person. And I think sometimes we feel that if we show our authentic feelings to someone else, or to the world around us, that we will be rejected.
Right.
So
And
we
it's a
put
real
we.
risk, yeah.
It is a real risk, but ultimately, it's the only way that we can live. We have to be able to live in an authentic manner, which means what's true for me moment to moment is shifting. And I need to be able to be honest with that because I do deserve to be seen and heard, warts and all, for who I am. And if people can't hold space for that, it really says more about where they are at than where we are at.
Mm-hmm.
If we are rejected for our authentic feeling by somebody, it's them rejecting their own ability to process emotions and feelings too. So, you know, this week is a time to understand that like we're learning to be vulnerable with others and to have courage through that and to truly create intimacy with one another through that experience of vulnerability. And sometimes vulnerability and our authentic feeling might be like setting boundaries and things like this as well. So when we do so, it helps us to connect more fully to our intuitive guidance, to feel confident in ourselves, to feel confident in being seen and heard. I recently experienced sharing some boundaries, and it was really difficult for me to do so because I didn't want to push somebody away, but I knew that like it didn't feel comfortable for me the way that I wasn't speaking up for my own needs. So I shared my authentic feelings, and I was scared to do so. And I did not hear back from them, but I felt really confident afterward. I felt like a huge relief from it. So I think, even though, and it feels like that, it does feel like that when we follow our truth, really, and we share our authentic self. It is a relieving feeling. So this week, don't push your feelings down. If you need to share something with somebody, do so. Let yourself, don't push your tears down because you're afraid to cry in front of someone else. Allow yourself to move through that moment and to be really seen for who you are. And I think it's surprising how much people do support us when we allow ourselves to be seen. I'm thinking actually of this time when I had this insane flu a couple of years ago, and I was sick for like 10 days straight. And I was like, I had a few nights, my fever was so high that it was like the craziest feeling. And I thought maybe I need to go to the hospital a few nights and like call an ambulance. But maybe I should have, but I got through it. And then finally, like 5 days deep, I'm like, I call my friend and I'm just like, can you come and help me? And he's like, why didn't you call me before now? He's like, why did you wait 5 days? And I was like, I didn't want to be vulnerable and sick and need help. But, I think like it's really surprising how much people can hold space for us, and how much every time I've ever like cried in front of a man that I've been dating, I've always been surprised how much they've been like, thank you so much for like being so true to yourself. So I think it seems worse than it really is sometimes to be open and vulnerable and show authentic feelings. And, I think if you're not in the pattern of it, it can come out really messy at first and reactionary when you show your authentic feelings. Do it anyway, because you kind of have to move through that initial like bleh of stuff too. So it's okay for it to be messy the way it comes out. And so really the ritual this week is, who can you show the true you to this week? And maybe it's showing yourself the true you, so it's just showing up for those authentic feelings. And again, through my vulnerability, my empowerment, as our weekly theme. So the tarot this week is another cup. We were in the cups last week. This time it's the fifth of cups.
The fifth of cups.
A fifth of cups. No. It's the 5 of cups. So we are traversing our emotions with another card from the suit of cups, but it makes a lot of sense because, the Sunday before this week starts that full moon in Pisces, so obviously there's a lot going on. And this week we have Mars stationing direct on Monday. And with all of that Mars energy, we really, and we're going to get into that, but we have been processing a lot of internalized anger and rage, which has shown up as depression and anxiety and apathy. So I think this card does make a lot of sense for what's going on, and there are ways to support it. So, the 5 of Cups is really about grieving and experiencing loss, and, a loss, or even grief can be formed in the body through any kind of loss. So any kind of disappointment, even any unmet expectation, can cause that feeling of grief in the body. It can be related to setbacks, or having to say goodbye to someone, or of course someone passing on from this life, this human life as well. This card really talks about, like, if you had your heart set on a love that ended up not panning out or not being forthcoming, or if you feel like you're being deprived of a long held dream, this is an intense card of loss. So, it's also can be about like the would've, could've, should'ves, like feeling regret for the past or the things that you didn't do or the chances you didn't take, all of that kind of mental gymnastics that we've been doing coming to a head kind of, and I think also last week with the nurturing critical thoughts, pulling that through into this week is going to be probably very helpful. So this card is a tough one. It speaks to our collective themes of acute pain and suffering. And even if we're having a good time, it's hard to hold space for other people sometimes. When they're having a really hard time, we want to be able to help them, or help them help themselves. I think the most important part of this card is that loss ultimately initiates change in us. And that's where the number 5 too is actually such a blessing in disguise, because to me, 5 always represents independence and freedom. So in some way, the experience of loss and grief is freeing us from something else, a belief system, a perspective that has us trapped in some way. So I think that's where this blessing comes in. It's opening us up to growth. It's opening us up to a profound understanding of the workings of the universe and of unconditional love and acceptance, for ourselves and others. So, if we allow it to wash through us and wash away, like what needs to be moved on from, I think we can experience a lot of healing through this energy. I think that, the more that we struggle to let go, the more that we suffer. And again, letting go is not this act of just like cutting something out of our life. It's about acceptance and surrender. So it's about, letting go of the need to not be grieving. I just got to get rid of this grief. Maybe it's about shifting into, okay, I accept that this grief is teaching me something. I accept that I'm feeling this grief and I surrender to it. And it's letting go of the act of resistance to the things that are happening to us in our life. Because again, what we resist persists. So, I think that acceptance and surrender really are the major tools to be using around this. And you might need to be talking yourself through this stuff multiple times a day, if you're feeling acute suffering. You might have to give up that internal fight to figure everything out and make sense of everything. Maybe you have to go, I don't get it, and one day I will. And maybe that's where the letting go comes in too, of just like trying to make sense of everything. Some things don't make sense in the moment. And then they somehow, a little bit down the line, all of a sudden things seem to clear up and, oh, that's what that meant. Or, oh, this is why this was a benefit to me. So, we're learning. And I think this has a lot to do with the Mars retrograde too. Like profound patience in the process, like yeah. It's so hard because patience brings us back into that divine feminine energy of being and not needing to figure it out and being just in the process, and we're learning to let go of this like over amplified overextension of masculine energy of like doing, fixing. I got to do something about it. I got to fix it. This action. And everything this year has really been like, pull it back. And it's insanely frustrating, very difficult, but ultimately, bringing in a deeper sense of ourself, a deeper sense of our purpose. And for me, in my own practice, Like, I feel like it's brought me so much more internal peace from this process.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
hard won peace, but peace nonetheless. Yeah.
It's almost like it's here to stir up anywhere that you're holding on to anything that has that friction or that resistance that's actually ready, to be processed and just cleared out.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and I think especially this week, like it is a really good time to like get energy clearing, to clear out your home, to sage your whole home and reclaim it for your new truths, to really like work on clearing out all those old energetic attachments and the things that are connected to those old attachments. I think will be really important as well as a practice, because even though we are mentally moving on from certain things, we do sometimes need support in clearing
Yeah,
the
for sure.
the energetic threads and attachments that maybe are still holding us in a place that we've evolved from.
Yeah.
So
I like to think of
definitely.
it like, you can give yourself kind of a massage here and there, but to really get a full body massage that's super relaxing, you go get someone to help you and do
Yeah.
it. And like you can give yourself an energy clearing, but sometimes someone else can just help really
Yeah.
move
Oh,
it.
I don't give myself energy clearings because I'm stubborn as fuck and I won't go as deep on myself as I will with somebody else. And I just think that's true of anyone, because when someone is like holding space for you to nurture you and they push you to a place, you're able to go there that in a way where you're not going
Yeah.
to push yourself. And that's just, we all think that we're pushing ourselves to that place, but unconsciously we're not. I mean, when I go to see my practitioner sometimes, like I come out, I remember once I was working on anger and I came out and I was like, my body was like frozen like this for 2 days because all of that energy was surging through me. And in order to release the toxicity, I had to get really uncomfortable. I wasn't going to put myself in that position. Like I needed the support and for him to be like, you can do this. We're going to put you in this place. You're going to be fine. Just like work through the energy. So I think it's important, that, and also like there's people who can just see it's always harder to see your own stuff
Yes,
than
exactly.
it is other people's.
Exactly.
So, and that's true for me and anybody that's a practitioner. It's like, it's always harder to have a look at your own, really what's going on. And also like, I think especially at this time, we need the validation and the support in the community,
Yeah.
that comes from like going and for someone to match the intuitive feelings we've already been having and for them to go, you're doing really good. And this is, exactly what you're feeling is, and just to be supported in that way. So
Totally.
I think this is a really good time to do that. And with your home, you can use sage and candles and incense and just really go around your home and set new intentions and do what Natalie did and just like get rid of the whole house.
Just up and move.
Yeah, just move.
Yeah.
Just leave it all. No. But before you did that, you went through and you cleared out all your stuff.
Months of clearing out, and I getting here and seeing how small the living spaces really are. Like, wow, we really have to get rid of everything.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with. It's just going to be a process, which, whew.
Yeah. And Natalie's brought us this sunflower magic today too.
Some
for us all
sunflower medicine. Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
To connect into, which was really like, sunflowers were just popping off the last 2 months. I mean, someone
awesome.
gave me a bunch for my birthday, and then I kept seeing them everywhere, like not just growing, because obviously it's summer and they're popping up out here, but they were just like everywhere. I just kept seeing them. That sun self magic.
They're just so radiant. They're just like happy. They're like how even when they're draped over, and done blooming, and they're kind of drooped over, I'm like, wow, they're still so magical. They're so full of seeds and they're just such abundant plants.
I wish can you edit this video so they have little faces?
I wish. I don't have those skills.
I really want to see them smiling because they look kind of like they're smiling at us. They're like,
Yeah.
"Hi."
Hey.
Okay, so the major aspect this week that I'm looking at is going to be on Monday, August 27th, Mars stations direct,
Cool.
right on the last degree of Capricorn, where we've been sitting on that fucking degree for quite a while.
Oh my gosh.
We will officially leave the retrograde zone on October 8th, but we are officially going to be direct. So I think so much of this Mars retrograde was about patience and slowing down and also processing our internalized anger, you know. So Mars went retrograde on June 26th, and it made its way through Aquarius, through Capricorn and Aquarius. Well, through Aquarius into Capricorn. Now it's going to go direct again from Capricorn into Aquarius again. So we're kind of going back and forth over these same sort of situations and ideas. So now you get to kind of go forward again over some of this material that you've been traversing with a new perspective, you know. I think that what we have been doing is assessing how we act for, you know, our motion, our impulses, our aggression, in the world. We've been kind of connecting into, when is it necessary to act? When is it not? Is how I'm asserting myself in alignment with my spiritual truth? Are my impulses divine and intuitive in nature, or are they part of my wounding? It's been a rich time of healing. I mean, for me, I really noticed a lot of my habitual actions through this retrograde. You know, the nuance of some of my own codependent tendencies and attachment and separation anxiety to do with romantic relationships and stuff like that. So it really helped me to come from a more authentic place of, you know, of seeing clearly the ways that I don't want to move forward anymore, and then letting the discomfort come up and really nurturing that as I shifted from the old action into a new action. And it required extreme amounts of rest and patience. And I think like that is just something that we need as a collective now moving forward. We can't go at the same rate that we used to, you know? So when anger is internalized, it becomes despondency, depression, apathy, rage. And it's been hard to not project these experiences onto our outer experience. I think, you know, we're always like looking for like, who did this to me? And well, if they weren't like this, or if my situation wasn't like that, you know. And I think the highest truth of this energy has definitely been our ability to just see our own part, to know that all of our internalized anger about situations belongs to us ultimately. And we have to really be able to break that down and bring understanding to it before we can shift what we're experiencing in the outside world too. That so much of our experience is based on our perception of our experience too. So, you know, I think it's also shone a light on where our grief is blocked by anger, because anger, as I like to say, is grief's armor. It thinks it's protecting our most vulnerable, sensitive parts. It's like, don't touch that, you know, that's my soft bit. And with our letting go of this need for anger in this way.
Or armoring.
In armoring, yeah. Letting go of our armor, exactly. We are finally able to access our grief too, and these vulnerable parts underneath. And I think this is really what this week is all about, is going to be about, you know, softening around our grief, not being so angry at our pain and at our experience, you know, because we are just going into that intense need to nurture ourselves. You know, you cannot nurture yourself with anger. You have to shift into a much softer place of acceptance and surrender and understanding and love ultimately.
Right, but
you're really love those places.
And you're not saying to suppress the anger, but that the anger's expression is to flow us through, like we're not to get fixated and stuck on the anger or to suppress it or anything. It's just like accepting that, and that leads to these other states of being.
Yes, and just to understand, ultimately to understand where our anger is coming from, that it's coming from a vulnerability, so the more that we can kind of accept and nurture those vulnerabilities, express them, the more that we can also move through our anger, at the fear of our vulnerabilities being revealed to the world or being rejected for them or being angry that they're even there, never suppressing emotions. I'm like, beat up a pillow, take a boxing class, right.
Oh, man.
I wish I just had like a barn where I could just smash plates and glass because I love to smash stuff.
I bet that could be a business, like legit. You could have a center
totally
of people come to smash it. Yeah.
And with like Goodwill and stuff, you can like inexpensively buy pottery and support homelessness while also expressing your anger.
Wow, such a all-around good deal. Win-win for us.
If there was a thrift store where you could just buy some stuff and go smash it out back, I would support that.
That's fully. There's probably an app for that. I'll find some like...
Someone's doing it right now. Now we've just given somebody $1 million idea. So Mars going direct in Capricorn, Mars loves to be in Capricorn. So this is a nice placement. It's actually much better than when it's in Aquarius. In Aquarius, I felt like we were all like feeling like we were being electrocuted. It was like in the nervous system.
Can you give us dates? Do you remember when Mars stationed retrograde?
Yeah, on the 26th of June.
Okay, so from then to now, basically, was the retrograde back through Aquarius to that last degree of Capricorn, and then we're going to go forward through Aquarius again.
That's right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So we'll finally pass all of this energy.
Oh, God,
October 8th.
Awesome.
So we have another month
and a half.
To move through it. But I also think that after like Mercury, we're finally out of the shadow of that on September 2nd. I think things are really going to ease up. We have a couple more retrogrades that go direct in September. I forgot what they are.
A Jupiter.
Jupiter is already direct.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll talk about that next week.
Those will come up.
Of what's coming up in September. But
yeah,
we're starting to kind of shift out of some of these retrogrades. I won't even tell you what's coming up in October, but
don't.
Oh, no, we're old hat at this now. We're old hat. We're fine. We're gonna be okay. We are gonna be okay. Don't threaten me with a retrograde, Rebecca.
Who's in charge around here with all these retrogrades? Where's management?
Ask them. Ask higher selves. They're the management. They're out of control up there. No, I mean we always go through retrogrades. Yeah. So retrogrades are not.
They're pretty normal.
They're normal. It's just that like we're all becoming so much more sensitive to our intuitive guidance that we just can't live in numbness anymore. And so we're not as ignorant, I think, of like what the experience is. And, it's your own fault. You shouldn't have woken yourself up.
Oh, yeah, right. Because we all had a choice in that.
Yeah, no. And we're all doing so well. I think we're all doing so well. We just really have to, stick with it and rely on our tools and our rituals and our community. And, I can't emphasize it enough. It's not easy. Do I have moments where I am in a ball on the floor? You better fucking believe it. I do. Because I have not gotten less sensitive. I've gotten more. I've increased in my sensitivity. And sometimes that means that I have way more access to absolute bliss and peace and true knowing. And sometimes I feel acutely pain and suffering as well. It's like, it's all part of the process. Mm-hmm. But, I think that more and more as you go through this process, you are just more and more grateful for it. And you feel, even in those shitty moments, that all is well. And you can see the reason behind it, the higher truth to what you're going through, that is like, okay, I can see why I need to shift through this. And, it just becomes different. Your experience mm-hmm. of pain and suffering just becomes different. So if you're not there yet, give yourself time. It does take time to move through this learning. Years mm-hmm. it takes. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to take years for everybody, but it certainly has for me. So, yeah. And I feel like I will barrel through some shit. I'm not risk averse, but I just think it does take time. And
there's no need to rush.
There's no need to rush. And like one of my practitioners who's been doing it for 33 years, like, he's always talking about, anybody who's been doing this for a long time talks about that's the process, mm-hmm. and it does give you a lot of peace on the path, but there's no holy grail of like, when I do this, then I won't ever feel sad anymore, and right. I'll never have bad things that happen.
I'll have it all figured out.
Yeah, I think that is the painful perspective to overcome, really, because it puts so much mm-hmm. pressure on us to live this idealized life that is just not real.
That's what we're surrender. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, we've got newfound patience and perspective and an ability to pace ourselves with when it comes to how we act in the world. And over the next few weeks, we might be revisiting some of this year's, themes and experiences, and finally seeing with a new perspective, clearer eyes, how to act and follow the impulse from our spiritual truth. Capricorn helps us to build the spiritual into reality. It's such a builder, earthy sign, and in its highest expression, it wants to kind of create the foundation for our spirituality to live in reality. So, the power to act in accordance with your authentic self is present right now. Give yourself permission to utilize it. Take those spiritual risks. And show up for what you're really feeling and express it, to other people in a way of like, if you need support or you need to be seen and heard for what you're really going through, let yourself, be held by your community as well. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
So
cool.
That's this week's report. And again, if you enjoyed, last week we were doing affirmations and mantras, and I have my 2 little new decks.
Bring them closer to the camera, yeah.
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me pull them out of their little baggies. So I got the new Reiki affirmation deck, which looks backwards to me. It's 31 different cards with different art and different affirmations right on the back.
Cool.
And then my other deck, which is the mantra deck, which is 18 original pieces of art, and then my guidance on the back. So a lot of my written guidance. So you just use them like an oracle deck. You pull a card per day or as needed. If you need some inspiration, you need a little divine support. And they come in this handy dandy little black bag
with a gold print. Very pretty.
The gold print with a little bit of fluff on it.
Where can people find these?
You can buy these directly on my website. Cool. And if you have a little shop, you can contact me for wholesale prices too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So if you think that'll be a nice fit for your little healing shop around wherever you are in the U.S. or abroad, I'd be happy to ship you some.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Congrats. That's so cool.
I'm really excited.
Wow.
That was like my Mercury retrograde project was to finish those that had been waiting on for a while. Because you know me, I'm an artist. I love to make art. My art is all infused with Reiki healing, and then it sort of helps me to also combine my writing and teaching with the other stuff I love to do, which is my creative endeavors, my artistic endeavors. So I'm really
Cool.
happy about these.
That's so Capricorn of you to bring the spiritual into the physical.
Rising Capricorn over here.
Oh, shit.
That's me. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it helps. Yeah, it helps to like, I love doing my one-on-one sessions, but I love doing my art too. So they're all really like dynamic parts of like the expression of healing for me. There's no one way that I like to express my service to the world. I like to do it across the board.
Flows out of many different avenues of expression. Beautiful.
That's right. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. So that's at RebeccaConran.com. People can get those and get sessions with you. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe to our channel. And if you're listening, this should be on YouTube. I've been moving, so the videos aren't always getting up on time. But I am now moved in San Jose, California for the moment. So if you're out here, holler at me. Got anything else, Rebecca?
No, just you can, I do a written newsletter each week. So if you want to receive that in your email inbox, you can subscribe at RebeccaConran.com or follow me on Instagram at Rebecca Conran for updates. Usually post daily, the day beforehand if there's a major shift happening. And if you want support with energy clearing, even if you don't live in the New York area, energy work happens remotely too. So you can reach out to me for a distance clearing as well. Or any of my other sessions, astro readings and tarot, etc. So looking forward to hearing from y'all.
Awesome. So RebeccaConran.com. And then check us out, podcasts and stuff. If you're on YouTube, DreamFreedomBeauty.com. We got all kinds of podcasts to keep you entertained and informed. Awesome.
Yeah. And if you like it, share it with a friend. That's what Natalie always says.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I am so grateful you said that. Now, if only I can find the buttons to,
all right, y'all.
to end our recording. Bye.